Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how you can handle the players doing something unexpected. And this was suggested by Sasa at Home on my Leaving Blank Space video. I'll put a link to that down below. Now, one of the best bits of advice I can give when your players do something expected is don't try and force them back onto your pre-established plot line. Run with what they've decided to do, no matter how smoothly or inconspicuously you think you've subtly maneuvered them back onto the original path of your plot. Players are excellent at sniffing out railroading of any type and genuinely react quite badly to it, which is understandable because we all like to think that one of the main advantages that RPGs have over computer role-playing games, board games, etc., is that you're only limited by your imagination and you can do pretty much whatever you want within the confines of a game setting and genre. Being railroaded or manipulated onto a particular course of action, especially if it's one that you didn't want to go on, sort of makes a bit of a mockery of this and does cause players to react in a negative way towards it. However, if you're willing to run with whatever idea the players have come up with, then they'll genuinely react positively and it will make them feel that they do have a sense of freedom within your setting. So, how do you do this? Well, it helps to have a clearly defined idea of the area in which the player characters are adventuring, the types of terrain, the indigenous people, the animals that inhabit this area, what sort of things you're liable to come across in this area, and of any major NPCs you're liable to come across, their motivations, their goals, etc. And this allows you to portray them convincingly when the PCs do something unexpected. You'll have this knowledge of the NPC motivations, this information about the kingdom or the land they're adventuring in, and you can draw on all of this information to help you create a convincing encounter, well, a more convincing encounter on the fly. If, however, you're not comfortable with coming up with a scene quite as spontaneously, and not everyone is, there's no shame in that, never be afraid to ask your players for a moment to consider your next course of action when they do something unexpected. Most players would, in my experience, prefer you to do this and the result be a more enjoyable game that's based on their actions rather than have you force them back to a predefined course of action. Another good way of doing this, and one that I highly recommend, is to have a few short pre-gen scenes that can be dropped into most situations in order that you can use them when you have nothing else planned. For instance, and I always write these down on little index cards, but anywhere storing them is fine. For instance, you might have an index card that says a thief tries to pick one of the player's pockets and a chase ensues. Now, this is an encounter that you can drop into pretty much any urban based scenario, and the chase, which you've already got planned out, gives you that bit of breathing room and that bit of time for you to consider your next move without you just having to ask for the players to go and have a break. However, if you do require the players to have a break, maybe then might be a good time to consider stopping for food, having a quick toilet break, whatever. As I say, the players would no doubt rather prefer that than you trying to manipulate them back onto a course of action. But if you can have some of these pre-made scenes ready, you can easily slot one of those into the game to act as a brief interlude, giving you time to think about what you're going to do at the next stage of the game, and the player characters can enjoy the scene that unfolds. So there's a few tips on how to handle players doing something unexpected. My final words would be, as I've said a couple of times in this video, don't try and steer your player characters back onto a particular course of action. Run with what they want to do. This will normally result in them feeling more invested in the game and will make them feel like their character actions do have a real difference in the game, rather than simply the GM handing them down the story from on high. And that can only be a good thing for the player investment and enjoyment of the game. And quite often, I found myself, as someone who mainly GMs rather than plays, that following this route will lead to the player characters doing things that I had never even considered and taking the storylines in entirely new and unexpected directions. And this is a great deal of fun for me as a GM, since if everything unfolds according to the plan I've already laid out, there's no real surprise or spontaneity for me as a GM. Whereas chuckling to yourself as something you've never even considered unfolds as a logical progression of player actions is what I think is one of the great pleasures of being a GM. So let me know what you think about handling the players doing something unexpected. Perhaps you have some other ways of handling it. This is by no means an exhaustive list. Please, if you've liked this video, click on subscribe down below and like the video. I hope that you'll hit me up in the YouTube comments section or the G Plus links and tell me what you think and what you do when your characters do something unexpected. And until next time, thank you very much for watching and listening. Take care.